I'm Aaron Friedman, and this is Politodoxy. Today's topic, promoting liberals on TV. Conservatives are like teenagers who want to be affirmed and recognized. They are very attention hungry. That's why whenever a liberal or some prominent Democrat says something that sounds mildly conservative, for some reason, that person turns into the new conservative leader. Take, for instance, Bill Maher, a complete leftist nut who from time to time says based stuff, and conservatives reward him with praise and makes him sound not to be all that bad, and promote him to show everybody, you see, even the liberals agree with us. Conservatives really have to stop this. Even Trump realizes this. It's okay not to alienate people who agree with you and tout them as, look, they agree with us as well. But it's also important not to look at them as some kind of conservative thought leaders. The same could be said with Elon Musk. Elon Musk is absolutely not a conservative thought leader. But now a lot of conservatives are shouting that Elon Musk is based, he understands conservatism and so on and so forth. No, absolutely not. Elon Musk should not be alienated, of course. And he should be welcomed. The more people we get on board, the better. And when he does something that's absolutely based, we should applaud him. But we shouldn't look to him for conservative thought. Just because he agrees with you now doesn't mean he's going to agree with you all the time. He's still not a conservative, and he will let you know that himself. He seems to be, apparently, like a good American citizen. Maybe he's more in the middle of the political spectrum, which, by the way, steers heavily towards the left, but that in and of itself does not make him conservative. Now, one thing for sure, Elon Musk is definitely based on a lot of issues. He's different from most of the other billionaires. As a matter of fact, he downright understands politics better than so many, even of Republican politicians. But he's not a team player, nor is he dedicated to the cause. So it's okay to get the wins when we do get them, but it's also important to remember that we have our own conservative thinkers, and we should listen, examine, critique, analyze, etc., ideas and strategies. Here is a very interesting example. We all remember Meghan McCain. She, of course, was the Republican on The View, and that was her choice to make, that she wanted to be on a liberal show that may have not treated her the best way, but she herself was the Republican, the principled Republican. The principled Republican that would denounce almost every Republican and conservative idea out there, only to legitimize the liberals' arguments. Then she left, and she wrote a book that had literally nothing to add to the conservative movement, but was promoted by Sean Hannity for some reason because she was trashing the liberals on The View, which, by the way, you could always trash the liberals on The View. I'm not complaining about that, but why are we promoting somebody who has been trashing Republicans all this time? Suddenly she trashes The View, and now we all have to read her book and listen to what she has to say? Now, there are other Republicans who are being trashed, which I don't really get the point of them being trashed. Like Chris Christie, who works for the liberals, but as I understand it, styles himself as a liberal Republican. And I've heard Mark Levin and other people trash him and attack him, which I don't really care for him, but I'm just perplexed because he is not representing himself as a real conservative or as a true Republican. He's styling himself as a liberal Republican, which he is. So why is that a bad thing for the conservative movement? He's not trashing the conservatives, he's just presenting himself as what he is. I don't really care for that. It doesn't really bother me. You're allowed to be a liberal Republican, although you should be conservative, but if you style yourself that way, you're not trashing the conservative movement, you're not saying, oh, that's not real conservatism, then I don't really have a problem with that. As long as you don't hail him as, oh, this great conservative thinker, you don't need to talk about him. He could find his own support with other liberal Republicans and from time to time agree with the conservatives whenever he feels like it, and then disagree when he feels like it. As long as we understand that he's on the other side, and we don't look to his side for great ideas, there shouldn't be really a problem here. This is the main problem here. When you look to the other side, when they say something based, and then you make them out to look like this amazing conservative. That is exactly the problem with Nikki Haley, Mike Pompeo, and Bill Barr. They're all liberal by nature. neocon by birth, and incredibly destructive to the conservative cause. But we bring them up whenever we agree with them and, by proxy, promoting them as great conservative thinkers. No, they should be exposed for who they are and rejected by the conservative movement. If they have something good to add, we will obviously examine and critique whatever they have to say. The same is with every other political opponent we have. The same goes for the libertarians. They are not conservatives. While we may agree on a whole host of issues, a distinct barrier has to be made, a border, if you will, where we know that those ideas are libertarian and these ideas are conservative. And while we may compromise on some conservative and libertarian ideas just to get ahead in beating the Democrats, we need to understand that these are just compromises for the meanwhile till we get to the real goal of conservative laws. But it also goes the other way around. A lot of conservatives get mad at fellow conservatives or people who, in general terms, agree with the conservative cause, or people who have added a lot to the conservative cause, and they get angry with them whenever they say something that's out of line from the conservative movement. And they start demonizing them as psyops or fake and so on. Now, don't get me wrong, some of them actually are fake. But let's take one example, Jordan Peterson. He said on his podcast something akin to the Western world has a responsibility to help the Iranians who want to overthrow their oppressive government, and it vaguely sounded like he was in favor of military intervention or sending weapons and something akin to that. Now, is he wrong? Obviously. We shouldn't get involved in that kind of manner. We can support them in general terms. Maybe even private citizens could go and do something, whatever they feel is necessary to be done. But the government? Absolutely not. As we already have discussed on this podcast, that the people have a right to enact which government they want, and this is the government that they created. At some point, probably, it would be overthrown by the people. But until that point arrives, America should not get involved militarily. We have seen exactly how that works out, and it just does not work. So people got very mad at Jordan Peterson and started attacking him as if he's this liberal leftist. But we all very well know that Jordan Peterson has done a lot for the conservative movement. He is very based on a lot of other subjects. And it's okay to be wrong from time to time. You can't be right over everything. Jordan Peterson is not a messiah of sorts. You're allowed to have your conservative heroes like Jordan Peterson and look up to him, but also be prepared to be let down by him from time to time. Your heroes are going to let you down from time to time. And it's important to reject bad ideas, as it is important to accept good ideas even if they come from your political opponents. You just need to be able to distinguish your political opponents from your allies. And Jordan Peterson is your ally. Was he wrong here? Yes. Is he still your ally? Yes. Are we allowed to hold him accountable? Yes. You can tell him that you don't like what he had to say. You can debunk what he has to say. You can critique what he has to say. That's all well and good. But he's not a psyop. He is not your enemy. He's not your political opponent. He's just wrong on the subject. That's all. The same is with Ben Shapiro. Is Ben Shapiro based? Yes. Is he smart? Yes. Is he your ally? Yes. Has he said some cringe-inducing things? Yes. Here's the thing with Ben Shapiro. When Ben Shapiro is right, he is right down to the core. But when he's wrong right down to the core. At least in my opinion. I promise you, there will be times that I would say something that you disagree with, and you'll start thinking maybe he's not really that dedicated to the cause. But that is not true. It could be a few things. One of them, you are wrong. Another of them, I'm wrong. Or we just have different perspective, which both could be workable. That is why it's important to have these discussions. For all the talk about freedom of speech, let your conservative heroes speak. Let their opinions be known, take the best, and reject the bad ones. Now there may come a point when you don't even look at them as a hero anymore, and that's okay. You can find other ones. All of this is in flux. Things change, ideas change, times change, it's all okay. Not everything is a psyop. You could chill out with all the psyop talk. You know why? Because that only takes away from the real psyops. That is why also it's important not to be loyal to a politician or conservative host, or conservative thinker, and so on. You have to be a team player, and when you see the team is making a mistake, call them out on it. But don't reject anybody who disagrees with you. As we've already discussed so many times, critique all ideas, including your own. Make the best version of it, and when they knock down your idea, build it back up, only better. And if it's not worth it, come up with something better. With that all being said, thank you very much for listening to this episode. Please leave 5 stars, share it with friends. You can leave a message on this episode on Spotify, or if you want to reach out to me, you could reach out to me at Aaron Friedman on Truth Social. And with that, I sign off. And remember, stay political.